Okay guys, what's going on, Tim World? I'm making this video pretty much for beginner and intermediate installers, just showing a couple techniques on curvy back windows. This one's specifically a charger. It's just what I had in the shop. It's not how to do a back window. It's not how to do a charger or anything like that. I'm just showing what I do when I have curvier than normal back window. Not saying this window's super hard or anything like that. Just giving a couple techniques that I've learned over the years. It is a dry shrink, obviously, and I will be using a blowtorch. You can use a heat gun on this. The techniques that I show, in a similar fashion. I just find a blowtorch is easier because the flame's wider, and especially big fingers like on a Charger or a Tesla Model 3 or even a C6 Corvette. A blowtorch just for me is just a lot easier because it makes those big fat fingers really small. So I applied a dryer sheet, and while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm going to prep the inside of this window. Just increase the workflow, so that way when I'm done shrinking and all that, it's going to be ready to lay. So just a quick white scrubby. Speaking of chargers, that's all I'm going to use on this window is a white scrubby. I'm not going to use steel wool or alcohol or anything like that. I'm just going to use a white scrubby one time. I'm not going to do it again. And that's it. Just a real quick squeegee pass. It's not perfect. Just getting it ready. So here I am trimming it. This is a plotter cut piece, but I'm cutting it dead on. And even when I hand cut, I cut it dead on. I don't leave any extra film on the sides or top and bottom. So I feel that when you leave extra film, a lot of people will double shrink. And the reason being, if you cut it big and then you shrink it and then you cut some off, that it changes the tension. So a lot of times you might have to double shrink it. I never double shrink. I just I will just leave the torch, like I'll heat the bottom of the film just really well, and if maybe it's only with the blowtorch, but when you heat the bottom, if there is like loose tension, it will kind of pop up and just shrink itself. So I never double shrink, but that's just me, and I never have fingers on the bottom or anything like that. So another thing to note on a window like this is I am tacking it 50-50, but on most windows I'll just do like a single wet line with my hand. On chargers specifically, I will do simply a double wet line. Instead of just doing one pass with my hand, I'll kind of do one pass and go up above it and do another pass. And it just takes away some of the shrinking area. And I started doing that a few years ago, and I've just been doing it ever since. It works out really well for me. So the film's ready to go. I don't do an H pattern like with my hand. Like I don't wet the sides, but I do squeegee the sides up just to kind of lock it in, just to get the fingers looking everything vertical. So here we go. I'm going to jump right in. I'm not gonna overthink it, which can lead to problems. I'm just going to just go for it. So I heat the whole finger. I run my torch over from the top of the finger to the bottom, and while I'm doing that, I will split the finger simultaneously. I heat, split, and I actually got that tip from Rick McIntyre when I was working for his shop, Tint Squad in Waterford, Michigan. Just super smart guy, and just actually helped me become as good a sinner as I am now. So big shout out to him, and really awesome to be able to work side by side with him for a while. So I start in the corner, and basically as soon as anything starts to go horizontal or or kind of bind up, I just split it. And that's what I do on any curvy back window, Teslas, Corvettes, Crown Vics, anything like that. I do the same technique, so it just works out really well. This video is not about speed or how fast I can do it, and it never is on back windows for me. I just make sure the goal is to just get a really even shrink. I mean, one of the reasons I love a torch mostly is because there's no cords or anything like that, and most back windows and windshields you can shrink pretty quickly. This one I do take my time, especially on the bottom. I feel like the bottom of Chargers is where you get most of your peanuts, so I just make sure I get a really even shrink. And like I said, just heat split. When I use a glove, but when I'm wiping the fingers, it looks like I'm just wiping the film down, but I'm actually using my finger as I wipe down to push down on the glass and split the finger. When I get to the bottom of the window, I am kind of like wiping the film down, but for the most part, when I'm wiping my hand over the finger, it's my middle finger is just on the glass splitting it, not my whole palm. So I think a glove is actually better than a hard card. To me, a hard card is like a handicap, in my opinion. Not saying that's necessarily true, but with your hand, you can, without stopping, you can split the fingers, you can push the film down, you can pull the corner of the film to pull it wide to make sure nothing goes sideways. So you can do, without, all in one motion, you can do a lot of things with your hand. And more importantly, you can't crease the film with your hand. So that's just me. I've always liked using a glove. Never really used a card. I mean, I have used a card for a very short time when I first started tinting, but once I used a glove, I never went back. So the first side is already done. And the second side obviously goes a little bit quicker because it's already pulling some of the fingers out. But just same thing, just heat the finger and split. And once you get that corner laid down, the middle is just super easy. I mean, there's nothing to the middle. So yeah, it's a big window, so I come around on the other side and kind of just get the rest of what I missed. So that's about it. This left side is kind of actually I did singe the very bottom just a little bit, and it doesn't turn out to be a problem, which it never is. I just I trim the just a hair off. It doesn't even hit the where the pattern actually starts. Just I trim like a 1/16 of an inch off, and it lays just fine after the shrink. So here's a good shot of these fingers on this side, and just like I said, just warming up the whole finger. Anything that looks like a pocket or anything vertical, pretty much. As soon as I see anything like sideways, I just I split it or I push it up. So you see me pulling the corner wide, and I kind of, when I heat the corner, I kind of wipe some of it like to the side off the film, and then I wipe some of it to the middle. I kind of just like make a triangle out of it and just do it that way. And then same thing, once the corner is down, it's pretty much game over. There's nothing to the middle. So that's why I like to do the corners first. There's pretty much no way for it to bind, especially when you're splitting it like this. I think the only time film does bind is if you heat something horizontally too. It's kind of messes up the entire shrink. So just make sure that everything's going up and down, especially on a window like a Corvette. On a Corvette, at the second anything goes horizontal, you're done for. So this works really well on Tesla Model 3s. You can pretty much, especially with the torch, you can do a Tesla Model 3 in about the same time as this window, to be honest. So it's just a super good technique. It changed the the way I shrink in a lot of ways. I've had many different phases of shrinking. I've pretty much always used a torch since I started. I was fortunate because the Rob Forbes, my mentor when I first started, was using a torch for many years already, and I just was really intrigued by it. So this customer, I offer the customers two options on chargers. If they want to pay a little more, I will go behind the brake light, but this customer didn't want to pay for it, so he was fine with me just cutting it out, which is no problem. And there you see I kind of trimmed just a tiny bit of film off the bottom, and it lays completely flat there. So here I go. I'm going to go for the install. I wasn't really going to show the install. I pretty much wanted to just talk about shrinking on this video, but being a charger, I just wanted, I guess, to show that I don't really do any extra prep. So and just show the turnout with the blowtorch and with just regular prep and just the results. So let's check it out. Okay, now the film is on the glass. I just want to talk about one precaution I am a firm believer in on these cars is starting the rear defrosters, which I'm doing right now. I do this also on the newer Mustangs, Challengers, 300s, any peanut-prone car, really, and it works out really well for me. So second thing I do is I squeegee only side to side. You got to move kind of quick once you turn the defrosters on. It starts to dry out pretty quickly. So, but I have really good success doing it this way. And 98% of the time I don't have peanuts. And these are really the only two steps I take, extra steps I take on these cars. Maybe once in a great while I'll get one peanut in the bottom corner, and with the defrosters on and just a little bit of heat on the outside, they lay right down. So I haven't really had any issues on these cars in a while. A lot of people talk about alcohol and steel wool and backblading, stuff like that, and I've just never really been a fan. I have tried, though, I have never used alcohol. I have tried backblading, and I have used steel wool, but doing it this way just works out really well. A lot of people have mentioned too that different films require different steps or don't react the same way, which might be true, but I've done these cars with several different films, and I still achieve this result with a blowtorch and with just turning the defrosters on. So pretty much done here. That's my final squeegee. I do one soft squeegee and then one once over, just really hard pressure. So that's it. 2 hands on the bulldozer on the bottom to get across that tight bottom seal, and that's it. Pushing the water out of the dots with my hard card. I really like this hard card. It's a yellow diamond with a vinyl wrap wet buffer. I use it for side windows, roll-ups. For my first pass after I tuck the film, I love it because you don't have to spray any water. It's because it has wet buffer on it, so it just slides really easily. I use it to bump top edges of roll-ups and of back windows, dry all the water out. And I love how wide it is and that it's angled on the side. So it's just a really, really cool tool. That's pretty much it. Just getting ready to wipe down the window. When I was getting ready to wipe it down, I saw just one little bubble on the bottom. So push that out real quick. Double check both sides. Make sure there's no peanuts popping up or anything. And let's check it out. Okay, here's the final result. The window looks really good and no peanuts. So, like I said, this video was mostly about shrinking techniques and how I approach these kind of fingers. Just keep everything vertical and just keep splitting them. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps.